my name is Abigail, and on this channel I talk about books and things that I'm passionate about. And for today's video, that is going to be my goals for 2026. I had a pretty good 2025 reading year. I read over 150 books. That tally is still tallying because I am in the middle of one. I haven't marked one read on Goodreads, and I have maybe one more that I am going to finish this year. I had a pretty good reading year for 2025. I learned a lot about myself and what I like and what I don't like, and I plan to implement that in a lot of ways in my reading year in 2026. Some of the goals that I have are direct learning lessons from 2025, and some of the goals that I have should have been goals all along. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get into it. I will reference my list right here. So my very first goal, and probably my most important goal, is to read for joy. I want to read for joy. I put a lot of pressure on myself in the year 2025, specifically in the month of December, with my 12 videos in 12 days, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for most of those videos I was reading more than one book. So when you look at it on paper, I read like 20 books in a very short amount of time. And then when I look even further back to October, I read 31 books in 31 days and put up 31 videos. I will not be participating in a video every single day in the month of any month, unless it's small books. I don't know how to describe it. Listen, I'm a very off the cuff person, and when I get it in my head that I need to do something, I like force myself to do it, which is, you know, it's kind of like, it's a kind of a positive attribute, because when I set myself up for something, when I set my mind to a goal, I want to achieve it by any means necessary. But with that being said, the pressure that I put on myself in the month of October and the 12 days leading up to Christmas in 2025 were a lot. It was a lot of pressure. It was too much pressure. It's pressure that I'm still feeling because it just ended. And I don't want to do that to myself again. I also want to read more intentionally. I don't want to read because it fits the bit. I did a lot of reading because it fits the bit in October with I read 3 vampire books, I read 3 werewolf books, I read 3 witch books, I read etc, etc, etc. It's a very popular trend right now. I fell into the trap both for the month of October and the month of December. I even did like 4 videos in the month of December. I read 2 books with the same damn name. Like, it fit the bit. It was cool. It's a good title. I would click on that video. But I didn't have fun. I didn't have fun with the ones in December, and the ones that I read in October, I read them because they fit the bit. Not because, some of them because I actually wanted to read them, but when I realized that I had 2 vampire books on my shelf, I said, fuck it, what's one more? And when I realized that I had, 2 witchcraft books already on my shelf or on my TBR, I said, fuck it, what's one more? And that's fine when it's just one more, but then there's some that I had 1 demonic possession book, and I was like, fuck it, what's 2 more? And then I had 1 YA horror book, and I was like, fuck it, what's 2 more? And then I just got it in my head that if I already have 1, it's fine if I buy 2 more. It's fine if I add 2 more to my plate. It's fine because it fits the bit. I don't want to fit the bit in 2026. If there's a bit that I want to fit, it's like I have a plan to go back and revisit books from 2025 that I missed. That is one thing that I want to fit the bit of. I have plans for, I think, January, February, March already planned out, where I looked at my previous purchases. These are the kind of bits I want to fit. So in the month of January 2025, I looked at the books that I got off of Book of the Month. I looked at books that were already on my shelf, and I looked at ones that I wanted to read but didn't get around to, and those are going to be like fit the bit, like vlog style content. So I have plans to read 1 book from Book of the Month that I picked up in January and did not get around to, and I have another one on my shelf that I bought with the intent to read and never got around to, and then I have one that I very much was looking forward to, never purchased, that I want to get around to. And even though it doesn't fit I read 3 of the same thing, or I read 2 books with the same name, these are 3 books that I had every intention of purchasing or reading, or already own and reading, that I want to get to. And so I'm prioritizing things like that fits the bit. And then I have some best of, worst of stuff that I want to get to as well. So those are the kind of things that I want to do to fit the bit. if that makes sense. Less reading to fit the virality of the title and more fit the bit of what kind of series can I continue that is sustainable, doesn't put too much pressure on myself, and gets books read off my shelf, which leads me to one of my other goals, is to reduce my TBR. I want to read a lot of books. Okay, I own books in multiple places. I have a storage unit that I have a shit ton of books, some of which I haven't read. I also have more books in a separate storage unit that's on my mother-in-law's property that I haven't read, and I have 130 books, last I counted, that I haven't read in my house right this second. And this is not okay, because probably altogether, I probably have over 300 books on my physical TBR that I have not read, some of which I can't even access right now, and that is disgusting because I keep adding. Now, I don't plan to do one of those things where I'm like, oh, TBR 0, Project 0. I'm not doing that. That's unrealistic for me. I like to buy books. I understand. I'm one of those people that understands that having a fat, nasty TBR is gross. But it's also, buying books is a different hobby than reading them. I understand it's disgusting that I own probably close to 500, if not 600 books that I haven't read in 3 places, 2 of which I can't get to. I understand that that's gross. But that's not going to stop me from buying a new book if I want to. Because I understand, but I'm not interested in changing. But one thing I did want to implement, I see a lot of people doing like the TBR this, TBR takedown, TBR emboss or toss, whatever you want to call it. And I just bought this on Amazon. It's TBR jar. And what I've done is I've taken books. Most of them are already in here. I think I have maybe 1 or 2 more shelves that I need to look at. And I've taken books that I don't have immediate plans to read, or like a vlog style content that I already have in the works or have planned out, or want to make sure I get to. And I put them in here for the opportunity to read them, because I have a lot of books that I don't have intents to read right away. And I want to get to them. I do. And the only way for me to mentally say it's okay if it doesn't fit my plan, because even though I'm not reading for the bit, my mental is not stable enough to tell me that it's okay to pick something randomly off my shelf. I have to randomly choose it from my TBR jar. So something's wrong with me. I'm aware of it. I'm not looking to change it. Just a fun little recap for you. And then one of the next goals that I have in the year 2026 is to read less for the vibes. I read a lot for the vibes. And I'm not very good at reviewing. There are some people that are just, they have a way with words, and they could probably write books if they really set their mind to it. I can be one of those people, but when I'm writing a review or compiling my thoughts to eloquently spit them out, I often say things like, it was a good time, or I liked it, I'm having a good time, something like that. Or my thoughts will be encapsulated with a rating like 4 stars. And while I enjoy reading for the vibe, because reading for the vibe is its own hobby, I think reading for the vibe is perfectly fine, because it is my hobby, and I don't want to have to think too hard. I don't. But I do think it's important that I spend some time compiling my thoughts so that I can give an adequate review. And I also need to get better at making sure that I describe the book other than just kind of the main characters. I want to think more. I want to read more critically, maybe read more critically is probably the best way to describe what I'm hoping to do in 2026. I want to also track this better. I have multiple tracking apps, but I actually bought a reading tracker for the year 2026 that I'm quite excited about, and I think it gets here right before the end of 2025, so I'll be able to start fresh with a brand new tracker, which I've tried reading tracking in the past and it didn't work out for me. But I'm also very much a paper person, and I like to touch paper, and it is a paper tracker, not a digital tracker or even like an app. It's like a physical thing that I can turn the pages of, and that's kind of where I prefer prefer to track anyway, but I haven't had one like that. And so I did purchase one for the year 2026 that I'm quite excited to get into. And then one of the other goals that kind of ties into that is, I mentioned I really like touching paper. I want to touch more paper in 2026. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and it's probably because of that pressure I mentioned with 2025, with the October and the December. I put a lot of pressure on myself to read a lot very quickly. So I end up reading and relying very heavily with audio. And I love audiobooks. I love listening to an audiobook and turning the page of a physical book. I love listening to the audiobooks in the car. But I got to the point where I was putting so much pressure on myself to read these books quickly, churn out these videos. I read 3, I read 2, I read 3. And I read so much on audio that I stopped having fun with audiobooks. And now every time I play an audiobook, I go, I don't really care. I don't care. And that's not a good place to be in when it comes to reading, because I do want to read more for joy. And that's not something that I'm doing if I don't care. One other thing that I want to work on in 2026 is definitely, I had made a video like 7 before 2025 or is over or whatever. And I read most of those. Well, I mean, half of them. I only put 7 on the list because I was starting it halfway through the year. So I figured let's just mention the top 7. And so I have a separate video. I'm still working out the list in my head, but I want to do 10 before the end. These are 10 books that I want to prioritize, make sure I get read before the end of 2026, 10 before the end. And these are books that are going to be on my physical TBR, because the concept of 10 before the end to me, for the most part, is I bought this book. Some cases I pre-ordered this book and I haven't read it. Like, why did I pre-order this book? Why did I purchase it? In some cases an entire year in advance, only to not read it. And so that's kind of where my 10 before the end started, with the 7 before 2026 or whatever I called that video. And so I want to use that same concept and do 10 before the end of 2026. And I have I think I'm like reusing 3 of them just because I didn't complete them in 2025. So I will be regurgitating 3 of them, but I do have 7 additions to that list of 10 before the end. The goal that I want to mention is my October, or my horror bingo for 2025 through 2026, which is put on by Wicked Reading. I'm looking at my bingo board right now. I have completed quite a few challenges on this. There's a bunch of spaces that are already blocked out, but I don't have a bingo yet. I have a planned TBR that I'll show you. This is a goal because I've started it, so it would be nice to at least get 1 bingo. The reason I mention this is I initially wanted to black out the board, but going back to goal number 1 is like, don't put so much pressure on myself. I would at least like to get a bingo somewhere, and I think that it's completely possible. I can see multiple places where I can get a bingo just with my plan TBR without even adding in the 5 that I haven't even chosen yet. So those are my goals for 2026. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your goals? Do you have the same goals as me? Do you have any different goals than me? Are we polar opposites? Do we have any similarities? Let me know in the comments down below. What is your biggest goal for 2026? Oh, also, I want to put on my Goodreads 50 books, because every time I put 50, I end up completing it, but if I put 100, I fail. So there's my last goal. Throw it in there at the end. That is going to be it for today's video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.